peculiar to Nigeria alone. There have been documented cases of discrimination against Nigerians in Ghana, xenophobic acts against other Africans in South Africa, and the general attitude of hostility against Africans, which experts say has affected
On the news, Rivers APC suspends party chairman and legal advisor over anti-party activities. Court stops Labour Party's chairman, secretary and 2 others from parading as national officers. And police invite APC Rivers governorship candidate Tony Cole over murder allegation. Hello and welcome to News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Simisola Adigun. Fresh crisis might be brewing in the All Progressives Congress APC in Rivers State following the suspension of the party's chairman Emeka Beke and legal advisor Ehiajuku Azubike over alleged anti-party activities and financial misconduct. The special leader of the party's executive committee in the state, Chike Enyida, who led the other party members to a media briefing in Port Harcourt, disclosed this on Wednesday. The executive members also berated the immediate past Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, for failing to lead the APC in Rivers State to victory since leaving office as governor in 2015. They alleged that Amechi's earlier instruction backfired on the APC during the March 18 governorship election, as no contrary instruction was given to the party supporters in the various local government areas to counter the earlier instruction. The executive members therefore called on the national leadership of the party to investigate the activities of Rotimi Amechi in Rivers State and to take appropriate actions to reposition the party. Still in Rivers State, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Port Harcourt, the police said the police command has invited the APC governorship candidate Tony Cole for questioning following its clash with members of the ruling All Progressives Congress on Monday. The clash erupted after members of the PDP stopped those from the APC and Cole from gaining entrance into the office of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in the state to access certified true copies of election documents. While confirming the recent development, the Commissioner of Police in Rivers State, Okon Effiong, also clarified that they were also inviting some members of the PDP in relation to allegations that 2 people were shot and 1 person killed. Effiong said the Police Commission is investigating the allegation, adding that if a corpse is not presented, the death cannot be confirmed. Joining me to speak on the troubled political atmosphere in Rivers State is political affairs analyst Jide Ojo. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, there has been so much political unrest in Rivers State even before the general elections, all of which culminated into the clash between the APC and PDP on Monday. Now, where do you think all of this chaos emanated from?
Well, thank you, Simisola. Good evening, Nigerians. Rivers State has always presented a red state in terms of violence from time way back 1999. It has largely been a one-party state, and not until 2015 did we start seeing a fierce competition between the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party. However, the immediate cause of the recent clash, which happened about 48 hours ago, or 72 hours ago rather, was because of the post-election dispute resolution procedures. The APC wanted certified true copy of election materials from the INEC office, and the supporters of PDP said, no, you cannot get that. We also are interested in having these certified true copies. I recall that about last week, 3 lawyers of APC were purportedly arrested by the police, and eventually I think they have been released by now. Long story short, you need to understand the animosity between PDP and APC that it didn't start today. Way back in 2015, in 2019, in fact, APC lost out to PDP in the war of attrition, and the Supreme Court did not allow APC to present any candidate for the 2019 general elections. Now, in this round of election, Toyekol emerged leader or the standard bearer for APC in Rivers State. And after that, Senator Magnus Abe left and got the ticket of SDP, Social Democratic Party. And from your first report, you understand that there is internal wranglings in APC as we speak, where the chairman and the the secretary had been suspended for anti-party activity. So it's a lot of issues that needed to be unpacked. On one hand, there's intra-party crisis plaguing APC in Rivers. On another hand, there's inter-party crisis, the crisis between PDP and APC, which, like I tried to give the background, did not start today. All through the electioneering period, all through the campaign period, there were palpable fears, there were attacks on APC members in the state. And of course, here we now have a scenario where Toyeko claimed, or his team claimed that a person was shot dead and another injured. And the police has now invited him to come and confirm that and present the corpse of the person who died. Otherwise, what the police said they have is the information and confirmation that one person was shot in the leg. So this is the much I know about the brewing crisis in Rivers State between APC and PDP.
Okay, now in the face of the unrest, the political unrest in the state, do you think that a reconciliatory move by the state governor, Nyesom Wike, will in any way douse tensions between the two major political parties?
Don't expect reconciliation between Wike and APC, because what has happened now is that, in fact, if there's somebody that should be accused of anti-party, it was Wike, because Wike was the one that delivered the presidency to APC on February 25. And after that, he decided to back his own candidates in the March 18 governorship and state houses of assembly election. Whereas someone like Rotimi Amechi, who is seen as the leader of the party in Rivers State, has been dormant and even has been very critical of the elections. So there's a saying in my part of the world that an elephant that has a swollen scrotum is a thing of joy to the hunter. The crisis, the intra-party crisis in APC, is a delight to Governor Wike and PDP, and they will just be so delighted because according to section 285 of the Constitution, you have only 180 days within which to plead your case at the tribunal, and that 180 days starts to count from you have 21 days to file your case at the tribunal. That 21 days is counting from March 20 or March 21, when the result of the River State governorship election had been published or announced and already won. So it's not even in their interest that the APC should resolve their crisis in River State. And they might actually be the one fueling that crisis as an external body.
Well, Judeo geopolitical affairs analyst, as always, thank you for your time and your contribution. Still in politics, the Federal Capital Territory High Court has issued an order restraining the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, the national secretary, Farouk Ibrahim, from parading themselves as national leaders of the party. The national organizing secretary, Clement Ojukwu, and treasurer Oluchi Opara were also stopped. Justice Hamza Mwazu issued the restraining order on Wednesday in Abuja while ruling in an ex parte application argued by senior counsel James Onoja. Onoja had in the application informed the court of how the restrained national officers allegedly forged several documents of the FCT High Court to carry out unlawful substitutions in the last general elections. He said following their indictment by a police investigation, the officers are to be arraigned in court, adding that warrants for their arrest have already been obtained. The Senate on Wednesday has stepped down the confirmation of Engineer Funke Opeke for appointment as a member of the Universal Service Provision Board. President Muhammadu Buhari had on March 29 sent the names in a letter read by the Senate leader, Senator Abdullahi Gobir, at the floors of the Red Chamber. Reading the report of the Committee on Communications at the Red Chamber, on behalf of the chairman of Senate Committee on Communications, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, the lawmaker representing Yobe South, Senator Ibrahim Bomai, read out the names of the nominees, who were thereafter confirmed.
One of the nominees, Engineer Funke Opeke, was unavoidably absent due to pre-scheduled medicals outside the country. Recommendation: the committee, after exhaustive deliberations and scrutiny of the CVs and other supporting documents of the three nominees, and having satisfied their qualification and experiences, hereby recommend that the Senate do confirm the three nominees.
From the report here, these three nominees have outstanding pedigrees. They do not have anything that may be said to be adverse against them. In view of the recommendation of this committee, I urge the Senate to give its nod for the confirmation of these nominees as I requested. I so submit.
The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the report of the Committee on Communications on the screening of Mr. President's nominees for appointment as Governing Board of the Universal Service Provision, USP, and approved the nominations of Mr. Ahmed Abubakar Walama, Mrs. Fatima A. Kiari, Engineer Benga Adebayo as Governing Board of the Universal Service Provision, USP. And the Senate stood down the approval of the nomination of Engineer Funke Opeke. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole?
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Africa can become the first green civilization to use renewable fuel for the purpose of a transformative economy by using its young population and effectively deploying green manufacturing on a scale required to become the global factory of the world. Osinbajo said this during the official signing of the Carbon Vista joint venture agreement between the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority (NSIA) and its development partner, Vitol. The Vice President added that Africa can become the first truly green civilization, the first civilization on Earth to use renewable fuel for purposes of a transformative economy journey. There are more details in this report. In November 2021, at the United Nations Climate Change Conference COP26 in Glasgow, United Kingdom, President Muhammadu Buhari made a commitment that Nigeria will cut its carbon emission to net zero by 2060. According to the president, it is a necessary step towards ridding the world of the devastating effects of climate change. To this end, the federal government, in partnership with the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority (NSIA) and Vitol, have signed a Carbon Vista agreement worth $50 million, an initiative that aims to support Nigeria in meeting its net zero target by investing in carbon avoidance and removal projects. Speaking at the launching, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said the importance of an enabling environment is crucial for Nigeria to play a global role in voluntary carbon markets.
Africa can become the first truly green civilization, the first civilization on earth to use renewable fuels for purposes of a transformative economic journey. And how can we do that? Of course, we can do that because, first of all, we are the lowest emitters today. And if we're going to develop our industry for the rest of the world, we can start from where we are today. We do not have to start from where the rest of the world has, especially the global north, is at the moment.
In her remarks, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, commended the initiative, saying the Carbon Vista Agreement aligns with the several key priorities of the federal government.
The successful deployment of capital towards high-quality projects such as Carbon Vista promises will drive economic growth and contribute to national priorities such as inclusive development, employment, export promotion, and also improvement in the lives of Nigerians.
Partners in the initiative expressed readiness to support Nigeria in meeting its net zero targets by investing in carbon avoidance and removal projects in the country.
The whole point of this is to invest in 2 to 3 propositions and on that basis raise additional capital, raise additional third-party capital. The potential of this is limitless, but we first need to just demonstrate that we are able to originate, we are able to invest, we are able to generate credit, and we're able to monetize those credits, and then additional private capital will come in. So
Nigeria stands to benefit from a number of different things. One of them will be foreign direct investment, so this is an initial phase in that. Public-private partnerships, as the NSIA Vitol partnership is a clear example of, but also on top of the investments there will be lots of co-benefits for the local people in terms of environmental benefits, in terms of health benefits, so clean water, cleaner cooking, land regeneration, all of the things that will not just benefit the country in terms of its carbon footprint, but also the local people in terms of their objectives for day-to-day living.
The $50 million, which is an initial sum, is to be committed into projects such as climate-smart agriculture, green industrial technologies, and waste management, cutting across several sectors, including agriculture, energy, and manufacturing. Simisola Adigun, TV360 News. We'll take a break here, but still to come, a bill to establish FCT Sports Commission skills second reading. We'll bring you details of the story and others after this break. Here's a recap of our top stories tonight. Fresh crisis might be brewing in the All Progressives Congress APC in Rivers State, following the suspension of the party's chairman Emeka Beke and the legal advisor Ihenyechukwu Azubike over alleged anti-party activities and financial misconduct. The executive members also berated the immediate past Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, for failing to lead the APC in Rivers State to victory since leaving office as governor in 2015. The executive members therefore called on the national leadership of the APC to investigate the activities of Rotimi Amechi in Rivers State and to take appropriate actions to reposition the party. We also told you that the Federal Capital Territory High Court has issued an order restraining the National Chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, the National Secretary, Farouk Ibrahim, and 2 others from parading themselves as national officers of the party. Justice Hamza Mazu issued the restraining order on Wednesday in Abuja while ruling in an ex parte application argued by senior counsel James Onoja, who said following their indictment by a police investigation, the officers are to be arraigned in court as warrants for their arrest have already been obtained. Now, in case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, on Facebook or at TV360 Online. South Korea will begin weekly tests of sewage produced by its major cities and towns to track the spread of COVID-19 and identify future waves. According to officials at the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, the wastewater surveillance will potentially provide a cheaper and more sustainable tool in the country's pandemic response. The officials also say the plans could improve the detection of other outbreaks such as influenza or drug-resistant bacteria. Break here and return with more stories in business. To stay with us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Let's now join Mary Kanu for updates in business. Over to you now, Mary.
Thank you, Simisola. Welcome to Business News. President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated the National Council for Digital Innovation and Entrepreneurship with a mandate to guide the implementation of the Nigeria Startup Act of 2022. Charging members of the council to harness the potential of Nigeria's young and innovative population, President Buhari highlighted the importance of the Commission in driving economic growth and job creation, as well as plans to consolidate on the gains recorded in the sector under his administration.
The council I am inaugurating today is a critical governance structure in the implementation of the Act, which will ensure that government agencies, entrepreneurs, investors, and support organizations collaborate with the startup ecosystem to achieve the goals of promoting the growth of a vibrant and sustainable startup ecosystem. I had earlier directed the Secretariat, the National Information Technology Development Agency, to commence the execution of the implementation plan it developed. One of the important aspects of the implementation plan is the development of the startup portal, which will serve as a platform that will drive the implementation of the Nigeria Startup Act 2022 and collaboration between all stakeholders. Similarly, I hereby direct the Secretariat to ensure faithful implementation of the Nigeria Startup Act 2022. I urge all council members and other stakeholders to support the Secretariat in implementing the provisions of the Act. With this inauguration, which serves as our first meeting, I hereby direct the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Professor Isa Ali Ibrahim Fantami, to convene another meeting of the Council in May 2023 to make further progress on the implementation of the Act.
In his remarks, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Isa Pantami, said digital innovation and digital entrepreneurship are the two prerequisites towards building an indigenous economy, adding that the inauguration of the Council would support the administration to consolidate the gains and achievements recorded in the digital economy sector.
Year in, year out, this administration has been setting new records when it comes to ICT contribution to GDP. A recent evaluation conducted by OSGF, FCDO, and KPMG indicated that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has increased revenue generation from the digital economy sector. In 2019, it was around 51 billion USD, while in 2022, it was up to 408 billion. Meaning quarterly contribution from 51 billion to 408 billion, an increase of 594%. This is indeed commendable, and I believe that the council to be inaugurated here is going to consolidate the achievements and the gains we have recorded so far.
We'll take a break now and be back with Stock Market Report. Executives market closed further in the red zone by 1.88%, its third consecutive decline this week. Investors have, since this month began, been in the profit-taking mood on some counters that had appreciated this year. This month, the market has decreased by 2.24%, well, driven by a record dip in consumer goods stocks. Investors booked about 554 billion naira loss to close down at 28.8 trillion naira. Airtel Africa and Ikeja Hotel made the top laggards league after witnessing a combined 148 naira loss. Now, at the close of trading, investors exchanged over 197 million shares in 3,506 deals. Now, over now to the global market. It's another mixed trading day, and for the second consecutive day, we see Asia's Nikkei in bearish trading after a key U.S. labor report showed job openings dropped to their lowest level in nearly 2 years in February. Inversely, the FTSE and Dow Jones are currently trading high at 0.37% and 0.11%. Well, that's all on Stock Market Review. Simsala, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mary. And in the United States, former President Donald Trump has accused Juan Merchan, the presiding judge, in his prosecution of being biased. Trump was arrested on Tuesday and was temporarily in police custody ahead of his arraignment. In an indictment sheet released by Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney, the former president was charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. Well, it's now time for Entertainment Report on News Now.
Nigerian singer Davido has set another record for himself days after the release of his first studio album titled Timeless by revealing he will be handling 2 roles at this year's Forbes on the 30 Summit. The singer will be speaking and performing at this summit, which will be held in Gaborone in Botswana from April 23rd to 26th. Davido's new album Timeless peaked at number 2 on the US Apple Music album chart, becoming the highest charting album by an Afrobeat singer. Forbes announced that YBNL music artist Fireboy will also be speaking at the event. Afrobeat singer Burna Boy is set to make history in the United States as the first Nigerian artist to headline a stadium concert, according to Billboard. Taking his Love Harmony tour across Europe and America, the show is set to hold July 8, 2023 at New York City Citi's Field. This isn't the first time Burna Boy will be setting such a record in the United States. In April 2022, he became the first Nigerian artist to headline a show at Madison Square Garden. That's it on the entertainment segment of News Now.
The bill for an act to establish a sports commission in the nation's capital, Abuja, has scaled second reading on Wednesday. The commission will be charged with the responsibility of administering, encouraging, and developing sports and games throughout the Federal Capital Territory. The sponsor of the bill, Senator Philip Aduda, further assured that the bill, if passed, will give way for rapid development of sports and economic growth in the Federal Capital.
The functions of the Commission, amongst others, include to encourage the development, organization and participation in sports in the FCT, to coordinate and integrate efforts to raise the standard of performance in the sports in the FCT, to promote in cooperation with other sports bodies or sports groups the physical fitness and general well-being of all persons in the FCT.
There's a need more than ever before to give concentration towards the development of sporting activities in the FCT. The FCT being the melting point of Nigerians is one area, even though not a state, but the Constitution says the FCT shall be seen as if it were a state. So whatever is operational in states of the nations should be operational in Abuja. But I think more importantly, Mr. President, that sport is a venue of not just for the recreational purpose, and indeed for business, is one event that unites people.
This is actually not a new bill. It's actually to legalize what is already in place. They have a Department of Sports in FCT, and FCT being considered as a state should have a commission, an agency that should take care of the activities of sports in Abuja.
A bill for an act to establish the FCT Sports Commission to be charged with the responsibility of administering, encouraging and developing sports and games throughout FCT and for other matters thereto. 2023 soccer reading taking, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Sports and Social Development to report back within 4 weeks.
Well, that's all on news now this evening. Many thanks for watching. I'm Simisola Atigun. Bye for now.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it, so that you can understand it. Use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranches.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
A very good morning to you, Nigeria, and welcome to another edition of What's Your Take? My name is Dayo Akintobi, and I'll be taking you through all the big stories that made the headlines this past week. Joining me to do that and to read all the stories and tell us what happened is my trusty sidekick, Yetunde Afolabi. Yetunde, how are you this morning?
Morning, Dio. I'm very well, thank you.
Very good. Well, guess what? COVID is back in the news. I just heard a news report that 2 confirmed cases in Rivers and 1 in Lagos. We thought we were out of the woods with COVID. What gives? Did you get a COVID vaccination?
Yes, I did actually. I did sometime last year.
Very good. So you have no fears about a resurgence of COVID whatsoever?
No.
Well, I hear that they're going to start giving booster vaccinations again in the UK. Maybe health authorities here in Nigeria will begin to think about doing something about boosting all of our protection against COVID. We definitely don't want it coming back. It was too devastating. It had too much of an impact on our daily lives. We don't want to see COVID back joining us for another engaging discussion about all the things that are going on in our daily lives in Nigeria throughout the week. We have a guest with us in the studio, but before I introduce her, let me just bring you up to speed on one or two things that are out there. The internet is breaking. Actually, it broke yesterday and continues to break this morning with a trending story about an audio tape of Peter Obi and Bishop Oyedepo, in which Peter Obi seems to be asking for the man of God's assistance in getting Christian votes. However, that was not really the point of attraction on the internet. The big thing was his repeated use of "yes, daddy," "thank you, daddy," "amen, daddy," and that has suddenly become the new catchphrase of Nigeria. Last week was go to court on every little thing, and this week it's now "amen, daddy," "thank you, daddy." So we've got memes, we've got stickers, we've got skits, any and everything now. Thank you, daddy. So go out and get your own t-shirt today, hot and smoking, fresh off the press. Get your "Amen, Daddy" t-shirt today. All right. The next one that also became a big media sensation last week was Igbo elder statesman Mr. Iwanyawu, who's speaking at the 1-year anniversary of Governor Soludo's ascension to office, gave a speech in which he alluded to the Yoruba as rascals. And of course, that caused a big problem. However, he came out to deny that it was taken out of context, and I took the time to listen to the audio tape 12 times, and I'll tell you what the problem was. In saying what he said about Yoruba rascal, he used a phrase, "there are," which came across sounding like "they are." Please, there's a very big difference between "there are" and "they are." But when you say it quick, or if you speak as fast as I speak, "there, it's difficult to tell which he's speaking, which he's alluding to. But think about it this way: they are political rascals. That means all Yoruba people. But there are political rascals among them. Simply means there are a few here and there, not all of them. So which did he actually mean? Who knows? But that's why we should pick our words carefully, and we should enunciate. There are. They are. Just get it clear so that there's nobody can misconstrue what we said or what we intended to say. And the last one for you this morning on a lighter note is another thing. Social media with 4 people pushing a blue line train. Can you imagine that? Do you know how heavy a train is? Can 100 men even push a train? This blue line has 4 rail cars. I put it to you that 100 men can't even push 1, let alone 4. So how are 4 men pushing 4 rail cars on a track in Lagos? It's not possible. Well, Lamata, the agency in charge of the train, has come out and said it was just some people up to mischief. The train was moving on its own power. And these 4 people got behind it and acted like they were pushing it. Yeah, we saw the train moving, but Lamata is saying the train was moving under its own power. And so we should not belittle the efforts of providing Lagosians with train service. Bottom line is this: take everything you see on social media with a pinch of salt, because not everything is the way it seems. Not everything that you see that's presented to you is actually the way it seems. That train was moving on its own power. 4 men cannot push it, even if they have the power of Hercules. All right, having said that, let's get into the nitty-gritty of today's show, and joining me to take a deep dive into the stories that made the headlines last week is Fabia Ogumeko. Fabia is a former executive director of Women in Successful Careers. She is a lawyer and developmental consultant, and is also the founder of Adaba Initiatives. Welcome to What's Your Take, Fabia. Thank you for taking out the time to join us this morning.
Thank you very much, Dio.
Very good. Thank you for joining us. I noticed that you worked with Women in Successful Careers, and of course we're in political season. Well, there are 6 deputy governors elect, and there is 6 female deputy governors elect, and there's 1 woman who is a whisker away from becoming our first elected governor in Adamawa State. That should make you proud, since you are an advocate of women in successful careers. What do you say about that?
I don't know if proud is the word. I've had quite a few conversations in the last week, actually, analyzing how did the women fare coming out of these political elections. And we're not very excited. We were really hopeful, and we're still hopeful that we will produce the first elected female governor. Unfortunately, as has happened in the past, results are currently inconclusive, and then that sort of dampens our hope a bit. But this is Nigeria, so we keep resilience. That's who we are, and we're hopeful. The women didn't fare well, to be honest, and yes, the token 5 deputy positions is not what we were going for. So, we remain hopeful, and that what we didn't get in the elected positions, we will hopefully get in the political appointments.
Yetunde, what do you have for us? Let's see our first story and what made the headlines and got our danda up in the past week.
The Department of State Security, DSS, has confirmed discovery of a plan to stop Tinubu swearing in and install an interim government. Not surprising, there has been a flurry of reactions from various political quarters. The PDP stated that the idea of an interim government is a plot by the APC and DSS to subvert the election tribunal. The party challenged the secret police to arrest the politicians behind the alleged plot. The Arawa Consultative Forum, ACF, for its part, called for the arrest and prosecution of anyone or persons found or caught canvassing for an interim government. The Nigerian Governors Forum, NGF, in its own statement demanded arrest of the plotters for an interim government. Legal experts, in their wisdom, have dismissed any possibility of an interim national government coming into existence. The Nigerian public have one question. Why is the DSS seemingly not eager to arrest those they claim they know? Over to you, Jaya.
All right, Fabia, let me just pass that question on to you. Why is the DSS not eager to arrest those they claim they know? They came out with a press release saying that some people, that they've uncovered a plot of some people who are planning to use the instrumentalities of the courts. And I'm actually interested in your response because you're a lawyer and this borders on a legal issue. They're saying that some people, I think in the political class, are planning to use the instrumentalities of the court to abort the swearing in and inauguration of the president-elect and his cabinet and voice an illegal interim government upon the people of Nigeria. Apparently, that such a contraption is unknown to our constitution and is illegal. Me not being a lawyer, I'd like to defer to you as to your thoughts on, is it possible to actually put an interim government in place? And if not, then what games are the DSS might the DSS be playing?
Great. Very interesting, and I'm as intrigued as you are. Well, constitutionally, I do not think, as far as I know from my experience, that it is possible for anybody or group of persons to simply come and say we are installing an interim government. That sounds to me more like a coup, or sounds to me like some kind of treasonable act where you are actually going underhand, and it has to really be a full-blown coup. Other than that, it is the president of the country, given certain circumstances, constitutionally defined circumstances, that can then sort of declare an interim government. And we've had that in the past, and we've seen exactly how that worked and how that played out, and the reasons for which, that sort of happened. So we had that, obviously, in the sort of 1992 elections and all of that. confused as you are by this particular news of these shenanigans ongoing. As we know, we've come through a really politically heated elections where Nigerians very hopefully in their masses went out to declare their votes, and some would say and argue that the elections were certainly not free and fair across board. There were certain discrepancies, and those who are politically aggrieved in terms of the political opposition have now gone to court, or at least have begun steps to go to court to air these grievances which have not been hidden and which have been sort of generally laid bare and discussed publicly. So that's, as far as I know, is sort of conversational scenario that's happening. If there is more information, which the DSS has confirmed it has, then they should sort of go about and do their job. As I understand the DSS to be a secret service, secret police, which means that most times we really don't know, what it is that they're doing. So on the one hand, I want to applaud public accountability and telling us the great work that they're doing and this great information that has come through that they are pursuing to its logical conclusion. But I know that I have concerns.
So you think it was okay for them to come out and give this press release and scare the whole country, and especially as they're an intelligence agency, they work covertly. So for them to have done this press release and told the whole world that there is some shenanigans afoot, was it the right thing to do, you think?
Well, no. So I'm not saying that it's the right thing to do, but I'm saying that given that they have done it, so given that they have done it, we are now aware. We are now. So then it now means that they have to inspire that confidence in us that they're going to see through what they have brought out to light as an existing threat. They have to see it through properly, and which is where, like I said, I have some reservations. We are hopeful that the process will be, they have made it transparent. They have brought it out into the public, so they now must continue on that path to keep us informed and tell us as the public, how these, investigations are progressing. Other than that, but I mean, we Nigerians have been democratic in the exercise of our right. I think that we need to be really careful, and we let's not cross the line between freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and freedom of challenging processes that we're allowed constitutionally to do, to get muddied in waters of these other kinds of conversations. So
yes, very good. The one thing I did pick out of that is that at the end of the day, perhaps it's only the government really who has the powers to be able to impose that kind of a contraption, illegally or not. The average man on the street cannot wake up one day law and the courts. The NBC, the National Broadcasting Commission, slammed a 5 million naira penalty on Channels TV for breaking the broadcast code during the appearance by the Labour Party vice presidential candidate Dati Baba Ahmed. He appeared on Politics Today on Channels last week and said something to the effect that because of the irregularities that marred the election, there should be no inauguration of the president-elect. And that, a lot of people viewed that as inciting public disorder and could be treasonable, and they've been calling for all manner of calling for his head. And the NBC has now come out and said Channels, by allowing him to have said that on air, that they violated the broadcast code and they have slammed them with a fine. There is some accusation of double standards. Femi Fani-Kayode has come on air and said worse things. Bayon Onuga online has said worse things. Festus Keyamo, in his combative mode, has come on air. So is the NBC being selective? Is the NBC, does it have its own agenda? Is it partisan? Has it become political? Is this fair for it to have singled out Channels for sanction?
So for risk of us being sanctioned, yes, this is really interesting. So the broadcast apparently was said to have been volatile and capable of inciting public disorder, and therefore violated some sections of the broadcasting code. Now, I haven't read the entire broadcasting code, but from a layman's perspective, and let me speak as a layman here, I certainly was not incited by the comments, and I suspect that, well, there were, like you did allude to, there were some Nigerians who felt that it was insightful, but then there are many others who also were not triggered by these comments. They were simply comments in line, like, sort of following on from our previous conversation, in line with grievances that we all already know have been publicly aired several times and are now being followed through the court processes. So personally, I don't find these triggering, but the censorship body for the media, who sort of has the authority at this point and who knows best, has felt it, deemed it necessary to sanction Channels. We haven't heard from Channels media, at least, I didn't find anything. It would be interesting to hear what their response is. There is a possibility, yes, of seeing it as double standards, given the examples you raised, but it would be interesting to hear from Channels what their perspective is.
Yes, indeed it will. What comes out of all of that is that regulation is subjective, because at the end of the day, how do you determine who you want to sanction and who you didn't want to sanction? Because as subjective that the regulator has to be the one to determine what is inciting and what is not.
If I can just add to that, so the law can be subjective, but ideally it shouldn't be. There should be examples, tried and tested cases, precedents that you can refer to, such that the laws are meant to be reasonable, such that the reasonability test is passed. So we can, we can make judgments from that, and sometimes laws are abused.
Yes, and in such an instance, then we don't have these allegations of double standards, and witch hunting, and partisan interests and things like that. All right, yesterday, what do you have next for us? Something about fuel subsidy, I see. That's in the news again. What's happening with fuel subsidy?
Fuel subsidy removal. Labour threatens to mobilize workers against Tinubu government in June. The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, have said that they will allow the removal of fuel subsidy only if the incoming administration of President-elect Bola Tinubu takes steps towards the repair and revitalization of government refineries and allows modular refineries. The Buhari administration has stated that it will hand over the implementation of the petrol subsidy removal and palliative measures to the incoming administration. All yours, Dio.
Well, the Buhari administration dropped this hot potato and said, this one is not for me. I leave it to you, the incoming administration. I'm not going to deal with the public opprobrium and uproar of being the one responsible for removing this subsidy. Not especially not after the Naira redesign debacle, the fuel scarcity. This government doesn't want to have to deal with public anger, so they're passing the buck to the next administration. Before I come to you, Fabia, let's watch a couple of interviews we conducted with everyday Nigerians to get their take on the impending removal of fuel subsidy.
Concerning the rumors about the fuel increments, I think personally it's getting out of hand. So basically it affects everything we do. So as a businessman day to day, I'm seeing an increase. It might not be directly because sometimes transportation, people want to come and set, people want to go about, get equipment and different things, and everyone is complaining like the prices are outrageous, and you can't blame the transport guys. Like, you have to know that it's coming from things like this, fuel increment. So if it's possible we keep it the way it is or go lower, I hope that works because it's really an impact on us, it's an impact on our family and then people around us. So please keep it safe, keep it here. We're trying, it's okay for now.
Alright, so concerning this rumor of increment in the oil price, I mean, looking at the environment and the country, and there's a lot of pressure. So adding that to that pressure right now
there are a lot of inconveniences, there are a lot of troubles, pressures that this might bring about. And look at business owners, generally every sector is going to be, they're going to feel it. Transportation, frustration, and you see cars queuing up to get fuel, movement problems and all of that. So then farmers and everyone is gonna feel it.
All right, Fabia, it seems to be generally there's a consensus that subsidy must go. It's how it goes and what is done to cushion the effect of its removal. That is the key, the million-dollar question. We're hearing rumors that fuel will cost anywhere from 400 to about 750 naira at prevailing market rates when the subsidy is removed. The million-dollar question, of course, is how are Nigerians going to cope? NLC has said fix the local refineries, the government refineries. If you fix them, then we avoid transportation costs, we avoid clearing costs, all that kind of cost, and that should keep the price down. Government, for some reason, hasn't been able to fix, with all the turnaround maintenance and all the money thrown at the refineries, they're still inactive, they're still moribund. Government seems to have a problem with that. So there are other palliative measures being considered, things like government buses, transportation, making things a bit easier, salary increases, things like that. But how do you see this notion of fuel subsidy removal as it relates to the well-being of the average Nigerian down the road?
Right. Oh, wow. So, I'm with the people, I'm with the voice of the people. Generally, like, if we're going to be moving in this direction, like you said, there should be some palliative measures, there should be the cushioning effect, and it should be well thought out, proper strategies, which is what the Labour Congress should also be doing, rather than threatening strikes. I don't think that strikes is really the answer at this point. And as we saw from the voice Vox Pops, this is certainly not what Nigerians want. Coming out from all the various dramas that we've had, like you said, Naira redesign, coming out of elections, we really do need a period of stability and some just allowing us to breathe. So I think what the next administration should be thinking about as they take over is really, like you said, around palliative measures and really thinking through the strategy properly. And the Labour Congress should be on the table, on the side of Nigerians, having these conversations for us. So I remember, I think it was during Jonathan's government, probably in the last days of his government, when we had a town hall where seemingly the opinions of Nigerians were sought en masse, and the pros and cons, because these things need to be explained because nobody wants to suffer more hardship. Nobody wants to pay more if it's not absolutely necessary, especially in a country like ours, where we have, just gone through so much hardship, and there's really no reason to have, to be putting us through what we are going through as a people. So yes, repairing the refineries is certainly should be on the table. It has been on the table, and your guess is as good as mine why we are still where we are. But I think it's not enough to just make demands, and if this demand is not met, then it goes in the other direction, right? We know that strikes can work. We see what's happening in the UK, for example, with the health worker strikes and the transportation worker strikes. But the most important thing for us, from where we sit, is effective, real-time strategies, and really carrying the Nigerian populace along. Let's have another town hall, which like we had all those many years ago. Let's explain for those who were not part of those conversations, because we've been having this whole threat, of subsidies for as long as we care to remember. So let's have a conversation about it. Let's carry Nigerians along, and let's arrive at strategic solutions that will, sort of ease the burden for us, if that is the direction that we have to go.
Very well said. So the incoming government, over to you. You heard Fabia. Let's have a conversation.
You heard me?
Yes. Let's have a town hall meeting. Let's discuss this issue before it is put on the table, and let's have well thought out strategies that will mitigate the impact of this fuel subsidy removal on the average Nigerian. We're running out of time. Yesterday, over to you. What's the next thing you have for us?
Igbo leader who threatened to invite indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, to Lagos is in DSS custody. In a now viral video, the self-acclaimed Eze Indigbo of Ajao Estates, Lagos, Chief Frederick Nwajagu, issued a threat to invite members of the proscribed IPOB to secure the property of Igbo people in the state. Arrested in Lagos by officers of the Nigeria Police Force, Nwajagu was subsequently handed over to the DSS to handle terrorism matters. He is slated to be transferred to Abuja for investigation and possible prosecution. Over to you, Dayo.
What do you make of this, Fabia? This has befuddled me ever since it came in the news. What do you make of this? This gentleman threatening, well, can I even call him a gentleman? Threatening that he's going to unleash IPOB on Lagos markets to protect the assets of Igbo people. This whole Igbo versus Yoruba tension and strife that has emanated in the aftermath of the election. What is this all about?
Right.
Why is it happening?
And I think Jared, that's really what the issue is. So I was going to say on a lighter note, DSS seems to have their hands full in this past week, and we're hearing a lot from them. So good work to them, or kudos to them for the work that they're doing. IPOB, for all intents and purposes, has been declared a terrorist movement, and clearly the alleged statement by the chief, by Eze, is possibly insightful. So I can understand how this can be seen to be a threat, to peace, and so warrants for an investigation. But like you said, the drumming of this whole tribal and ethnic sentiment has really come to a head during the elections. And I think that now that, at least the Lagos state elections are over and we have, our governor back in the seat, mediation, peaceful settlement and resolution of this brewing conflict, I think benefits no one. And I think that it should be a priority of the government of Lagos State to wade in and ensure that whatever tensions are building are resolved peacefully and timely. Lagos is a metropolitan city, just like like New York and London. We pride ourselves on being ethnically diverse, and it's the different cultures that bring vibrancy to the city, and historically has been so in Lagos. So I think that we really should nip this in the bud and just nip it in the bud so that it doesn't begin to escalate. And of course, where there is inciting, insightful conversations, let that be dealt with properly.
Thank you very much. And so heal those wounds. Time to heal those wounds and hug our neighbors and hug our neighbors and love one another and bury the past in terms of all the electoral differences we all had. All right, that's the much we can take for this edition of What's Your Take. We had a whole bunch more stories to cover, but we've run out of time because we had so much fun. So thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you, Fabia Ogumeko, for being our guest today. We look forward to having you again. This has really been engaging, and I wish we had had more time to analyze a whole bunch of the stories that covered the headlines this past week. So to all of you out there, we wish you a great week ahead. My name again is Dayo Akintobi. Thank you for joining us on this edition of What's Your Take. Have a good day and a fantastic week ahead.
Hello and welcome to the program. I am Mary Kanu. The Department of State Services says it has identified some key political actors plotting to install an interim government in the country and frustrate the president-elect Bola Tinubu from being inaugurated on May 29. Now, according to the secret police, the plot includes embarking on a violent protest nationwide to engineer the declaration of a state of emergency as well as securing frivolous court injunctions to stall the inauguration. The service said the move being pursued by those it called entrenched interests was not only an aberration but a mischievous way to set aside the Constitution and undermine civil rule as well as plunge the country into an avoidable crisis and described the move as illegal and unacceptable, especially after the peaceful conduct of a just concluded general elections in the country. The agitation for an interim national government became louder after the declaration of the All Progressives Congress candidate Bola Tinubu as president-elect. The proponent said he should not be inaugurated on May 29 based on complaints by his opponents on the presidential election. Well, joining me to discuss this further is legal expert Anthony Agada. Thank you very much for joining me. Now let's begin. You know, the last time Nigeria had an interim on violent protests nationwide to engineer the declaration of a state of emergency as well as securing frivolous court injunctions to stall the inauguration. The service said the move being pursued by those it called entrenched interests was not only an aberration but a mischievous way to set aside the Constitution and undermine civil rule as well as plunge the country into an avoidable crisis and described the move as illegal and unacceptable, especially after the peaceful conduct of a just concluded general elections in the country. The agitation for an interim national government became louder after the declaration of the All Progressives Congress candidate Bola Tinubu as president-elect. The proponent said he should not be inaugurated on May 29 based on complaints by his opponents on the presidential election. Well, joining me to discuss this further is legal expert Anthony Agada. Thank you very much for joining me. Now let's begin. You know, the last time Nigeria had an interim government was in 1993 following the crisis of the Third Republic and exit of the then military head of state Ibrahim Babangida, and of course it left the nation in shambles. From a legal point of view now, how possible is it that the country will have an interim government 30 years after?
Thank you very much. Incidentally, my project in the university, when I was graduating, my project was on interim national government, and I wrote, by God's grace, extensively on it. In this scenario we have now, it is almost impossible to have an interim national government. Okay, there are the differences are there. Then you had the military government that promulgated the military decree, pursuant to which the interim national government was inaugurated. And you also know, of course, that government did not last because of crisis of legitimacy and legality. So, in this scenario we have now, it is almost impossible to talk of interim national government.
Well, now, for clarity's
scenario,
sake,
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Go, please.
Okay, I was asking, for clarity's sake, what are the implications of an interim government, and is it possible that it could be different from that of 1993?
Yeah, well, it's okay. The point is that what we have now, we have a ground norm, which is the 1999 Constitution as amended. Okay, you cannot, for example, section 1 subsection 2 of the Constitution says the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall not be governed, nor shall any person or group of persons take control of the government of Nigeria or any part thereof, except in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. That is the constitutional provision. So it is, as we speak, by the constitutional provision itself, it is not possible. Are you getting me? It's not possible to talk of interim national government, because that means you have to suspend the constitution and promulgate another law that will give a legal backing to that government. So to me, it is not practically possible. In any case, the procedure for making law now under our laws is through the National Assembly. The present government, president cannot operate by decree. The scenario of 1993 is not the same as we have it now. Like I told you, I wrote extensively on interim national government in my project in the university. In 1993, we had a military government that annulled an election, okay, and because of the political upheaval, the government had to go. So the only feasible alternative was an interim government. Okay, even at that government did not last, because it was even declared nullity by a court of law. Then, when it was challenged by MKO Abiola. Now, in Nigeria today, we have the 1999 Constitution. We have a president that has almost completed the second term. Okay, we have a scenario where we have concluded an election. Though most of us are not, in support of what happened during the election. But then, election has been held, and a winner supposedly declared. Now, the position now is that the law is that if you are disputing the election, the channel, the procedure is to challenge the outcome. Okay, now by what we have in existence today, the ground norm is the 1999 Constitution, and there is no place for an interim government under the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. So to talk of interim national government, you have to establish, you have to promulgate a law, okay, a legislature that will back it up, okay, and that legislation has to contend with the 1999 Constitution. So it is almost an impossible scenario. I don't know why people are advocating for that, and I don't know why DSS had to buy into that, fall into that trap of making an announcement about it. I don't see it coming to pass.
Well, I know you've said it will be almost impossible to have an interim government, but the DSS has said the plots to impose the interim government are being planned but through protests in the country and court orders to block the transition. Is it possible to get a court injunction preventing the inauguration of Tinubu as president?
Yes, it is possible, okay, because the court, it is possible, that it is possible, but the likelihood fit is almost zero. Okay, we have never witnessed that in Nigeria, and I doubt if that will happen. We are looking at the Court of Appeal, the Election Tribunal, and the Supreme Court giving such an order. It's going to be almost impossible for them to give. However, we cannot really tell. Okay, but I don't see that possibility coming to pass. Now, if there is an injunction stopping the inauguration, the solution is not necessarily an interim national government. What you have is that we have the president of the Senate. That is what the Constitution says. Where it is impracticable, where the scenario of that applies, the Senate president takes over and in an acting capacity. So I don't see an interim national. Mind you, to have an interim national government, you must have to establish a constitution, interim national government constitution, with all the features of government and the arms of government and the tenor. A lot has to come into play. As we speak now, there is nothing, okay, that has been set in place for the establishment of, for the enactment of such law. Therefore, an international government is almost impossible. We are almost in April. When will the National Assembly promulgate a law that will be signed by the president before May 29 for the inauguration it is not possible.
Well, many have said that against the background of the relatively successful democratic system in the last 24 years, the idea of an interim government is a call for anarchy, while others believe that it is the solution to Nigeria's problems. But what are your thoughts on this?
Interim national government is not a solution to our problem because any interim national government will face the issue of legitimacy. Like I told you, I wrote extensively on this in my project. We will face the crisis of legitimacy and legality. The first question is to settle the issue of legality of an interim national government in the face of the 1999 Constitution. Are you going to abrogate the 1999 Constitution? That is the first thing. Another question is the issue of legitimacy, acceptability. That is another question. Another practical thing you are going to look at in the face of the crisis between the ruling party and the opposition, crisis of confidence. Who is going to man the interim national government? And who are those to be appointed into that government? Who is going to head the government? How is the government going to form? It's not going to work. Okay? If we're in the military era, fine, we can say all these things are possible, but under this our democratic era, an interim national government is impossible. It's not practicable.
Well, against many agitations, he has been declared, and he was declared president-elect by the country's electoral umpire, INEC. Well, legal expert Anthony Agada, thank you very much for your time and your contribution.
Very much.
We'll take a break here, but when we return, the program will continue. Don't go away. Welcome back. The crisis in the opposition People's Democratic Party took a different turn on Tuesday when the National Working Committee announced the removal of Iyocha Ayu, replacing him with the Deputy National Chairman North Umar Damagum as acting chairman. Damagam's appointment was disclosed by the PDP National Publicity Secretary Debo Olugunagba at a press conference. He stepped down from his position as PDP National Chairman barely 2 days after a Benue High Court had restrained him from parading himself as the national chairman of the party. He was also found guilty of anti-party activities as well as not paying his annual dues as enshrined in the party's constitution. According to Olugunagba, further investigation also revealed that he did not vote during the governorship and state assembly elections held on March 18th, 2023. Of course, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, who has always championed Ayu's removal as part of the G5, expressed support for the move, while accusing Ayu for the party's failure in the 2023 elections. Now, in light of this development, what is next for the PDP? Also delve more into the matter. I'm joined by the Director Global Network for Sustainable Development, Phil Roberts. Did you see this coming, the removal of your chair, Ayu, as the chairman of the People's Democratic Party?
Funny enough, people like us are staying in Abuja. You know, Abuja is called the federal capital, and we play politics at the federal level. So we were monitoring the trend at which the PDP has been going, especially from the formation of the 5G. And a couple of us have been on TV several times to talk about the disaster that is going to fall into PDP. Because for a country like Nigeria, we don't need a one-party system. Nigeria is bigger than having a one-party system. And thank God for the way the Labour Party also came in and swept everywhere. And for those of us that have been watching, we've been speaking to a couple of the powers that be in PDP to tell them that they should try to see how they could put their house together. And of course, it all started when they had the fallout during the primaries. I was also at the primaries because I was part of the people that was invited as most of to watch the system so that we could always also have something to discuss in meetings or interviews like this. And we saw how it all played. And I told my friends that Wiki was going to fight. And a lot of people thought I was just talking, especially when we feel something is not well done and there's an illegality, we fight. And I think that is what happened to Wiki in the PDP, and he fought them. And I told them that Wiki was not going to give up until he got his own pound of the flesh. And that was what happened. So whatever you saw happening in the whatever you saw happen in the PDP, something that a lot of us has predicted from a whole lot of time ago, and is a sorry situation. But Atiku is to be blamed because I looked at his mantra when he was talking about unifying Nigeria. You can't even unify your party. So how do you unify Nigeria? Wiki and the 5G governors gave them a lot of opportunity, and they told them so many times that they are willing to allow peace to reign. But Atiku, as a father who is an old politician, should understand that in playing politics, most times you have to give in. Even William Caesar said that you stoop to conquer. I think what happened was pride and wrong advisors. That's what happened to Atiku. If not, Atiku had it all. Atiku has been a prominent and a major politician in Nigeria. So for him to allow himself to be disgraced like that with IU, I think Atiku is to be blamed.
Now to the next question. Do you think think the party acted too late in removing our youth? Won't you think it should have been done, before the election, since that was the main demand of the D5 governors?
When you say the party acted too late, when you have a lot of people ruling a system that they don't even know what to do, they feel they claim that they are politicians, and I think that is another strand that a lot of our parents need to learn. A lot of our parents feel they know more than us because they have experience. I think that's one of the issues Nigeria is having now. These are our parents. I don't want to call them the old people. You understand? They feel they know more than us. A lot of us who are young people, we were warning them. I'm not a member of the PDP. I'm not a member of the APC. I'm not a member of NMPP or LP. I'm a true Nigerian. And most times, because of our knowledge in analysis like this and programs that we have attended and seminars and workshops, when we see something go diving into the mud, we will tell you that this is how it's going. And I said to somebody, the reason why Wiki will fight to make sure that he destroys the party is because he feels that Atiku took that thing from him. And don't forget what Tambuwa did to Wiki was a serious betrayal. Because of the way Wiki held Tambuwa to high esteem. So Wiki was fighting three things. He was fighting the party, he was fighting Atiku, and he was also fighting Tambuwa. So for them not to adhere and call them to a round table, that was the first mistake they made. That time that all those issues were happening, the party should have called Wiki to order with his 5G, as long as he had the strategy to go and put up a set of people, and they call themselves the 5G governors. They should know that this guy's strategy was going to work for him. They should also know that this guy was not going to keep up. That was the signal he gave them, to let them know that I have taken a chunk from you. For him to take away 5 states, you will ask yourself, what's wrong with these people? Somebody took 5 states from what you already have, and you feel he's a non-entity, you feel he's a nobody, then that means the people who are ruling the party I don't want to use a couple of some kind of words that are not good for TV, but it just shows the level of understanding of the people we have at the helm of leadership. They should have done what they have done now by suspending IU. They should have done it a long time ago to keep the party in unity, because everybody's attention or everybody's where everybody were looking at this, they were looking at how do we win this election. So if a national chairman cannot design a strategy to win the election, then that means he's not due. It shouldn't be in any helm of affairs. And somebody posted something yesterday, like a profile of IU, some of the allegations on him, criminal cases, how he was even impeached in 2003. And I read through all of that, and I said, and PDP brought him back to come and lead PDP. And he even left the party at the time, some time ago. And PDP brought him back now. So it shows that there is greediness, selfishness. A couple of people wanted IU there because they wanted him to play their script. And look at how the team went. So I feel sorry for the PDP, but I think it has also given rise to a new movement. and a more democratic party, which is the Labour Party. So maybe in the next election, maybe what we are going to be seeing from onwards is going to be Labour Party, NMPP, and the APC. PDP is dead. I'm sorry. Thank you.
But even with all of this crisis rocking the PDP, the party accused RU of, anti-party activities. But isn't Wike guilty of the same thing, considering that he openly campaigned against his party's candidate during the presidential election and even dared his party to come after him? Would you say he's also guilty of the same thing?
You know, these guys are comedians and they are funny people. You know what happened? They suspended Autumn, they suspended Fayoshe, they suspended Ayim, Pius Ayim and some other people. So why didn't you ask them, why didn't they suspend Wiki? They left Wiki, but because they are still trying to see how they could manage Wiki. Because Wiki is the force. You understand? They know that Wiki is somebody that you cannot just throw the baby away with the bath water. For Wike's case, Wike is the baby, and himself is the bath water. He babs and swims in that water of trouble, and they know that Wike also knows what they know. And don't forget, Wike has been one of the major people financing the party. You understand? So what they actually did is that they are trying to play a game. And don't forget, in politics, there are lots of negotiations that go behind the door that you don't see. You understand? So there have been backdoor negotiations. And they've been trying to see how they can manage Wike. And let me also let you know, even till now, Wike still has a major force in the party. You understand? So what they are trying to do, they don't want a situation where PDP will just break away. That's why I tell people that if you are fighting a battle, you should select the people you fight with. And if you are joining people to fight the battle, you should